The story begins with Haruto, a reclusive shut-in individual due to the bullying he received at high school. He had no hope for the future. All of a sudden, he was summoned by a beautiful goddess. She welcomes him and points out he has been selected to be reincarnated after careful consideration. Haruto highlights he may have actually died in his room. The goddess explains that magic is everything in this new world, therefore she will grant him with immense magical abilities in order to cope with his new surroundings. Her last advice is for him to enjoy his new life. We are then introduced to Haruto's new world. He has been reincarnated as a baby into the royal family. His parents are extremely excited, and his father Gold is glad to see that Haruto carries the royal insignia on his chest. Gold commands the mage to commence with the magical assessment to check Haruto's mana level. The king is certain his son will carry a mana level of 50. Upon completion of the assessment, it indicates Haruto has a mana level of 2. The king is gobsmacked. The mage explains further, pointing out Haruto possesses no elements, therefore will only be able to use barrier magic. Gold is outraged and believes his subjects will be infuriated about the news. His parents decide to come up with a plan to tell everyone that Haruto tragically passed away during childbirth. Haruto's eyes light up as he questions if he will die instantly after being reincarnated. The mage indicated it may be extreme. However, the king angrily silences the mage and orders for him to abandon the child in a forest far away. The goddess is worried as she reincarnated Haruto to have superior abilities, yet nobody can figure it out. She explains the reason is due to the fact the measuring devices in the new world only go up to 2 digits. She also forgot to give him an element. She points out his grade score should in fact be 1002. The story continues with Haruto laying in his basket in the middle of a forest. He remembers he possesses barrier magic and begins to test it out. He is able to use his abilities to lift himself out of the basket. A wolf appears from the bushes and gives him the fate of his life. As the wolf attempts to eat him, he creates a barrier to protect himself. He uses his magic to lift up trees to target the wolf. Just as he thought he defeated the wolf, it came back for revenge. It was only until he attempted to crush the wolf with a piece of land that the wolf screamed to surrender. The wolf and Haruto can be seen together. The creature explains her initial intention was to eat Haruto in order to refill her mana. Haruto realizes he is unable to talk, therefore creates a barrier that turns thoughts into sound. He emphasizes he has been abandoned due to his insufficient mana levels. The wolf begins to perceive a great deal of mana originating from Haruto, therefore panics and leads her to believe he is a reincarnation of the Demon King. He goes along with her and confesses he is in fact the Demon King. The wolf known as Flay vows to show her devotion to Haruto and calls him her master. Haruto begins to faint and falls to the floor. He requests Flay to bring him breast milk. Flay forms herself into an elegant woman. She puts her arms towards him to pick up to give him breast milk, but then realizes she is unable to produce it. As they sit together, Flay's ear points up as she hears someone approaching. A knight appears. When she questions what his intentions are, he points out he is here to take the baby. Flay angrily refuses to hand Haruto over because he became her master, therefore he belongs to her. The knight tells her the child belongs to a close relative of his and was abandoned due to personal circumstances, but he is now here to rescue him. He pulls out breast milk and asks if Flay can feed him with it. She reacts angrily, asking if he planned this as she is unable to produce breast milk. Haruto's eyes bulge as he is dying of hunger. The knight offers her a deal to take her in as his attendant if she wishes to continue to serve her master. She accepts the offer. As he greets his family in the morning, Haruto highlights 9 years had passed. He has been under the care of Flay the whole time. His plans were to leave, however, due to the love and affection from his family, he decided to stay. There is one issue he does face, that is his younger sister Charlotte, who hates him. Charlotte and Flay can be seen in the garden playing together. Haruto watches on from a distance. His mother approaches him and insists to not let it get him down and assumes Char's shyness is due to her not knowing how to act around a boy similar to her age. He begins to panic, wondering if Charlotte has figured out he is really an old man. He drops to his knees. His mother suggests for him to do something for Charlotte that she will appreciate. She continues further, adding he is the heir to their estate and to go outside and join his sister once in a while. Haruto is back in his room. During his 9 years he has studied barrier magic to the best of his ability, so much that he was able to create a robot copy of himself. His copy, however, is not able to talk or move. He comes up with the idea of making a Flay doll to help with his plan of leaving without hurting anyone's feelings. His father, Gold, knocks on his door and calls for him to meet him outside. His father tells him he will teach him how to use a sword due to him having such low mana levels, and it is important to have other skills. As they commence to fight, Haruto creates a barrier to prevent himself being hurt. Haruto strikes his father. He is in complete shock as Haruto strikes, forming a huge hole in the floor, breaking the sword. Gold attempts to strike him, however he dodged it. Gold is confused as he points out nobody under level 30 mana level could have dodged that. Haruto's parents are in their office. Gold explains about what happened earlier on. He assumes Haruto may possibly be a reincarnated demon. His mum Natalia jumps out of her skin in panic. She highlights he does not have any horns or tail to be a demon. Gold continues explaining the family insignia holds strange powers even they yet are to understand. She does not want to believe it. Gold comforts her and lets her know everything will be okay. At the castle there is a bunch of soldiers severely injured. Haruto approaches his father. He looks extremely upset. When he asked what has happened, his father explains there has been a high amount of bandit attacks within the border province. Gold continues to tell Haruto they was ambushed and is embarrassed about the defeat of his soldiers. Flay mocks Gold, highlighting he is not much of a leader if he cannot defeat bandits. Haruto shuts her down. As he walks past the soldiers, he creates barrier magic to heal the soldiers' wounds. The whole community are delighted that they have recovered. Gold is surprised how they have healed so quickly. Later on, Haruto is taking a nap. He wakes up to find Flay standing outside his room. He apologized for his reaction earlier in the day. He takes Flay to the top of the castle. He uses his barrier magic to identify where the bandits may be located. When he notices a group of men, he is astonished to find soldiers with them. This raises suspicion that there is a potential spy, hence how the ambush happened. Haruto instructs Flay to follow him to destroy the bandits. He uses his magical abilities to fly. 3 bandits are seen sitting together discussing their great work they carried out. They get afraid of their life when Haruto appeared. He raises his hand, striking them with a barrier. They're baffled how they cannot move. Haruto tells them it is the barriers that are keeping them from moving. One of the bandits is talking too much, therefore Haruto strikes a more powerful barrier to throw him against the wall. He eventually ties them all up and questions them. They confess someone within the province is working with them, which allowed them to get beyond the troops at the border. They fail to give him the name of the spy, therefore he thanks them for cooperating and orders Flay to set the place on fire. The bandits panic with fear. Flay forms a flame in her hands to set the whole place on fire, burning the bandits. As the pair of them walk away, Haruto explains he will send an anonymous letter to his father to inform him what happened. Back at the castle, a servant of Gold has the letter and informs him of the news. He puts his hand to his face and questions how the border garrison could let this happen. He goes on further to say a full investigation is required. Char looks into her father's eyes. She asks who destroyed the bandits. Gold has his suspicions that it was Flay due to her abilities and her strength exceeds his own. Char runs off. She witnessed Haruto flying away with Flay the night before. As she runs down the hallway, she wonders who Haruto really is. She confronts Flay and asks if there are 2 Harutos. She continues further, telling Flay she's seen both of them flying through the sky, but is confused as Haruto does not have enough mana levels to fly. She then went to check on Haruto in his room and found him laying fast asleep. She is extremely baffled. Flay is impressed Char can sense Haruto's correct power. She tells her Haruto was born with extraordinary mana, so much it cannot be measured and surpasses any human limits. She compares him to her Dominic power, emphasizing it could never contest with what he holds. Char asks if she knows who Haruto really is. Flay raises her hand and tells her she cannot tell her any more information. Flay reports back to Haruto. He is concerned that Char has seen him fly and discovered he has a clone, therefore decides to create a surveillance and alarm barrier against Char. Haruto is walking in the hallway with Char behind him. When he turns around and calls her, she runs rapidly away from him. As the days pass, Char is consistently spying on Haruto with every activity he does. The family gather at the table. Haruto's mother and Char will be leaving to attend the annual festival. Haruto offers for Flay to accompany them. His mother highlights she has not seen her around lately. This is because Haruto has her walking around to frighten the local monsters to prevent them attacking the villages. Back in his room, the alarm system he set for Char is going crazy. His mother Natalia and Char are caught up in a battle. As they run to escape, the Imperial soldiers try to strike her. Her mana is not powerful enough to block it as she wounds her leg. Haruto forms a barrier for Char in order for her to lead them to safety. As they reach the edge of the cliff, Char instructs her to jump down. Her mana enables them to land with less of an impact. They eventually find their hideaway. The cave is full of luminous moss. Natalia tells Char she will go to find the person who was giving her instructions as they must be nearby. Char cries and begs her mother not to leave. She leaves rapidly out of the cave. Another barrier is formed which stuns Natalia. The soldiers have caught up to her. She insists she cannot be captured, therefore pulls at a sword and puts it to her own neck. As the sword gets closer to her neck, it completely shatters. Haruto was there to hold her in his arms. He has extreme anger, leading to him striking the soldiers as they go flying into the trees. As Char is praying her mother is okay, Haruto approaches her carrying their mother. He tells her to take care of their mother and help will come. She screams Haruto's name. He turns around and waves. She asks if he is the hero of justice. His brain is so baffled that he decides to agree with her. She is so impressed her brother is able to punish the evildoers and had the wrong impression of him this whole time. He asks for her to keep this a secret. She agrees even if she has to lie to her own father. A servant is at Gold's office. He informs Lady Natalia and Charlotte have escaped unharmed and flees with them to assist them. He notifies bodyguards have been injured, however were miraculously healed instantly again. Gold would love to thank the person who saved them, however points out they do not want to be known. He asks Haruto for his opinion. Haruto points out as long as they behave, he is sure the mysterious person will stay on their side. Gold figures out the attackers must have had help from the inside. He has suspicions it is shrewd Vixen. Before they could get into the topic, Char and Natalia burst through the door and they both hug Gold. She runs straight to Haruto to give him a hug. Their parents are baffled how she has become so friendly towards him. She confesses her love for Haruto now. Flay gets angry as jealousy can be seen all on her face. And that brings this to an end. Thanks for watching.